Hello and welcome everybody to MMBOnline. It's the last panel of the second day, and it's a panel I've been really looking forward to because it's one of the panels that I'm sure will bring a smile on our lips, or this is our intention. We're talking about opportunities. We're talking about, the title is somewhere somehow there's business to be done, but it's not only business. It's just being creative, staying human, staying alive, staying positive, and staying optimistic. And I have three wonderful ladies together with me today with extensive music business experience and knowledge. I'll just introduce you. We have Karen McKean, who's a business development manager, and she's a former manager of Snow Patrol. We have Rachel Lynn Carey, who's a co-founder and president of World Artists United and Music Entrepreneur Conference in the US. And we have Nita Raghuwanshi, co-founder of NPREX, entertainment attorney and global chair, chapter expansion for women in music USA. So welcome, ladies. It's a thrill to meet you. I'm sorry this can't happen in the usual Mastering the Music business setting, which is a stage and a room full of people and a lot of networking with a beautiful, beautiful lawn in front of us where we could sip a cocktail in the breaks. Now, I've tried to paint this beautiful picture so that we get kind of in the mood. First off, let me ask you, because everybody keeps repeating the same thing. You have to find opportunities in this situation that we're all facing. It's being repeated like a mantra, but it's being repeated that so much that it's almost empty of any meaning. Is there such a thing as opportunity? Can we find it? Is there any truth to it?
I'll jump in. I think
Please, Nita.
So. I think so, and it is accelerating and pushing us to change our business models, to change the way we're thinking about how we're going to make money, how we're going to create. But in it, I have found some beautiful gems and things, and we can dive deeper into some of the actual platforms that have been helping and companies that have been helping. But there is, I just want to say, at the get-go here, there are opportunities that have made us look at some really cool new things and new ways of doing stuff and engaging and connecting with our fans. When I say our fans, as if everyone here is an artist, but or working for one. And it is about pivoting and sort of looking at the new things and finding the new opportunities out there, and not just sitting at home and going, I'm going to have to just take a break for a year. It doesn't need to be that at all. And it's also a good time to get legal and business housekeeping in order. And I'll talk about that a little bit, because just, working on metadata, for example, and cleaning that up, I've found that songwriters and artists have found extra cash, extra money coming to them. So that's been a good thing, because they got off the road, they stopped, and they paid attention, especially for the indie artists who don't have a team around them to help with those sort of things. It's really been useful to stop the madness, stay at your desk for a moment and take care of all that stuff. I know a band that's taken 10 years to sign up with their neighboring rights society, where there was money sitting for them. There was. Now it's less, but finally they're getting around to it. I was like, thank goodness. So yeah.
One thing that can be done, and it's something that I myself have done, is actually clean up your mess. Get your things in order. You finally have time to do that. And it can be your house, it can be your paperwork, it can be your emails, but somewhere you will find something that maybe it won't directly give you an idea, but maybe it'll point to something else, and you'll start a journey that will end somewhere. And yes, if there's money in there, so much for the better. But if not, at least you have something in order, and you discovered more stuff about yourself that can lead you somewhere.
Absolutely.
Karen?
I think we've all had, a to-do list, right? Those things that we were going to get to one day, focusing on our newsletter and really thinking about, okay, out of the community that we have if you are an artist, right? Those that you've been interacting with on social media and all of that, have you taken the opportunity? Have you put the right systems in place to really maintain that relationship with them, right? Getting their email address, just doing some of those simple things, like Nita said, those housekeeping things that, we've all put off, right? Because that's not the fun stuff. That's not the stuff that we necessarily want to do. But right now is the time to hone in on that craft, right? Whether it's really understanding digital marketing, right? Find a couple like niche things. There's so many courses out there. And of course, this isn't going to put money in your pocket right now, right? But there are also things that I've just found. I've been on LinkedIn like crazy, and I've really found that people are very receptive, right now as well, because everyone else is online looking for ways to, to network and all of that. So I've really met some interesting people who are launching new platforms like the Music Fund, who really is giving artists money right now, something new, very exciting. They want to give out $1 million over the next about 6 months, I think. So that's something that I would really check out. We also launched a program. We were going to launch some other programs, but we shifted a little bit. If you're a DJ, go to the DJ Syndicate, and we just launched a whole program of shifts that you can be taking right now during this time to accelerate your business and really take advantage of, online mechanisms like learning ClickFunnels. That's something that's really important. If you're an artist, business, whatever, you don't know about, that system. So I would just go and research, some more things like that. And like I said, for other types of entrepreneurs like myself, I'm all over LinkedIn right now, networking. I've got a tech project that's in development as well. And I have been able to lock down investors at this time. So that is definitely happening. But it's really about how you reach out to people, right? Not just, hey, listen to my music, or how can you help me? But now's the time to build relationships and really get to understand how to go about building those relationships. If there's a mentor or someone that, you've been looking up to, versus just reaching out and asking how you can help, hey, give them, some accolades, right? What is it that you've been, really respecting about their career and looking up to them? And what type of mentorship are you looking for, right? Let's get really clear on exactly what it is that we're looking for. And then I'll go into a little bit more, mindset stuff of how to get that, to come to you, right? I've had to really focus with my team of, it's not about staying positive all the time. I don't stay positive all the time, right? I mean, we've all lost a lot of business and things that we've been working really hard to, but there are ways to stay optimistic. And that just means that you can at least still be, have your emotions suppressed to a level that you can still see opportunities. We can still figure out where to connect the dots and, let those things rise.
I think it's very important what you said, Rachel, that if you find yourself in a place where you think that there's no solution, well, guess what? You're right. So what you got to do is you got to make a step to the right or to the left, learn something new, read something new, meet somebody new, and that way opportunity will appear. Because yes, if you're in a place where there's no choice, that's it. You have to get out of that place, and there's no other way that you can do it other than do it yourself. You have to make that step, take that step yourself in either direction. And yes, of course, education is always welcome, and the internet provides us with an infinity of possibilities, and we can hone our own crafts, or we can learn new stuff. And I think that online networking can prove very useful, and can also pave the way to an offline relationship in the future when that will be possible again. Karen, what do you think?
I mean, the pandemic's obviously a problem for us. There's no denying that. But I actually think that the music industry is so resilient and so full of so many creative entrepreneurs that we just get on with dealing with whatever problems are put in front of us, and always have done. So I've got no doubt that we're going to continue to do that. I really am even the slightest bit worried that we're not going to have loads of creative entrepreneurs come out of this. We always do. I'm in Scotland. We are a very entrepreneurial wee country. We are fairly renowned for having a fairly big music industry, considering the size of the country. There's been some research done on that we actually thrive under depression and bad weather, which is very good because we have a lot of that. So potentially that's why our songwriters are out doing things like, because they understand, when they're writing a song and they're putting their lyrics together, they can relate to what loads of other people are feeling. So they do write about things that are going to be quite hard to deal with. And songwriters are very, very good at that. And Scotland does it all the time. And I've got no doubt that loads of other songwriters are going to do it too. I think, from Snow Patrol's point of view, I loved what Gary was doing. Like he just got involved in Instagram and he started getting all these fans writing songs with him on a Saturday night. And that would never have happened if it wasn't for this pandemic. And all these fans are just chatting to him on Instagram and giving him a line of a lyric. And he's just writing a song full of all the lyrics that he's going to release eventually. It's just brilliant that he's done things like that. And Pablo, the bass player, he's kind of the quieter one that's the bass player. But when there's nothing going on, he lives in the Highlands of Scotland in Glencoe. So he's been out wandering around on Instagram showing folk all about the Highlands, and all these people in Mexico and Brazil are like, wow, didn't know about this. This is beautiful. And then he's playing covers, and people didn't know that he could sing or play guitar because he's the bass player, So yeah, new opportunities come without people thinking about it. But yeah, we're up against it. We've got a battle against us, but I think we'll definitely win it. I don't have any worries about that. I think brainstorming, chatting to people, I think is fantastic. And I know the live sector is in trouble, but actually I think the live sector is where the strongest people are. Like, we deal with so many problems. Like, when we're running an event, you've got no clue what might happen. And it can be so full on. And we've got 5 minutes to come up with a problem before we can open the gates, like to solve a problem. And you're like, we always manage it. So we'll manage this as well. So I don't have all the answers, but I'm pretty positive that we'll get there. That's what I think we're at anyway.
That's a lot of positivity. And yes, I totally agree about the live sector statement that you made earlier. Yes, it's a sector that's used to dealing with tough problems and that they have no possible resolve, and they actually find a solution in a very short amount of time, and they cope with it. I'm sure that this is something that people can think about and that can help them pass this period with a lot more ease. But some of you already did, but I'd like to go more into some examples of people that or of your own making. How did you or people that manage to turn this situation into something profitable, maybe as a business, maybe just from the human point of view?
Right. I'm going to jump in.
Please go ahead.
So I want to almost separate it into maybe 2 or 3 pieces and kind of dovetailing on what's been said a little bit, what Rachel had just said about networking and opportunities there. So we'll start with that. It's amazing that because we're stuck at home, that I myself, as well as others out there in the world, have been pulling out their business cards from the conferences we did last year and the times that they met. Times I've met people that I never followed up or stayed in touch, and people are coming at me from, oh, I met you a year ago at Canadian Music Week or whatever. And they're, I mean, I just had like a 2-hour phone call with somebody from Chile yesterday that I met at Canadian Music Week in a speed networking session, and it was amazing because it was starting those relationships that when we do meet in person, it's going to be grand. And I can tell that I'll keep in touch with her. We might start a Women in Music chapter in her country. And, it was just a beautiful conversation and a great way to just, it was just a reach out, right, from something from long ago. I bet we all have a lot of those contacts that we had made and never kind of followed up with or really saw it to fruition. And I think it is a great time, and it's such an opportunity to sit and continue that networking from the seeds we planted in the past. Second thing is moving to the business side of things, right? It is really, what is it? Well, yeah, it's really a moment where there are so many platforms that have kind of been shining their light, and some platforms that have pivoted. I work with a company called Road Nation, for example, which was a company that was working with artists and helping to generate fan engagement and place live tours based on fan demand in the live space. But then COVID happened, and they pivoted to doing a series of live stream concerts weekly. And they partnered with Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. And Twitch put this concert series on their homepage. And now that concert series is getting 100,000 unique viewers per each 2-hour show each week. And there's about 4 to 5 artists. They play 20, 30-minute sets each or so. And, from their bedrooms, from their living rooms. And the fan engagement is just amazing. And they've been cross promoting each other, but then they're also just getting new audiences from the gamers at Twitch or whomever who are going there and seeing something on the homepage going, oh, music, and clicking on it. And it's just been amazing. So, and Road Nation happens to be one of those companies that what they do is they've built artist pages for free for the artist performing to be able to sell their unique experiences and merch to fans. So they'll say, have a virtual coffee with the lead singer, have a guitar lesson virtually with a guitar player, have a cooking lesson with whatever it is with the bass player. So fans are able to engage with the artists in different ways. But then just also being able to pull out an old t-shirt that, there's still 100 left in a box somewhere and sell, some of the merch that's been sitting around, or not sitting around, whatever it is, has been really great. So there's been revenue streams, but that is an important piece. It was during the beginning of all of this, it seemed that, artists have been, and rightly so, right? They've been live streaming, but not necessarily monetizing. And it's important because they needed to stay connected to their fans and stay connected to their art. And that's been great. But it is time to start really focusing on monetizing these live streams. And Road Nation is one company. There's many others. Veeps is helping to provide online ticketing solutions. There's quite a few now, but being able to really look at that and say, I need to start selling tickets to my live streams. I need to sell merch. I need to do what I did in the live space. And I need to try to expand my audience, which means I need to go and contact the manager of a more popular band and say, can I open for you online? Because, I was talking yesterday to a group of managers that talked about the fact that it's very difficult for their baby bands, for their new artists at this time to expand their audiences and to get anywhere. And I'm like, wait, what about still doing the old traditional model of being the support for a bigger name? Just do it online. There are bigger artists who are doing online streams that have 100,000 people out there. Just do open for them, work on the same bill, have the same be on their poster and their e-flyers and on their social media posts, so that your name is getting out there and folks will get introduced to your music. And we have definitely found there's been a few differences. It's still early, but that online streams do lead to more Spotify plays, more whatever, Apple Music plays, Amazon plays, whatever it is. And although those checks are way too small, at least there's some checks coming in from royalties on demand streams. They're way too small, way undervalued. That's another story for another panel.
Yes, it is. Unfortunately, it is. But once you start comparing anything to zero, anything is better. So I think so. Very, very good idea with keeping the classical model and applying it to the online concert business. That should be monetized, but for an opener, for a baby band that is opening for an established act, I think that the exposure would be amazing just to get and I think that we could have actually maybe big bands from other countries opening for huge global artists and getting out there in the world. These could be awesome opportunities that are all an email away. You can at least try. It doesn't cost you anything, and it won't. If they say yes, You don't have to pay for your plane fare. You don't have to pay for your hotel. There's nothing gear rental. No, you do it from your own studio. So that is an amazing idea. And I
what
sure
I've been
hope
doing a lot of is just those emails of connecting, an international manager to a US manager, and having them work out exactly those opportunities. It's definitely been great.
well, that
And
is
then
something
feeding artists into that Road Nation model, because that's cool.
of course, and that is something I'll keep in mind myself. I sure hope that our viewers put that idea down, because that is an awesome idea. Okay, thank you so much, Nita. Which one of you, Rachel or Karen, would like to?
Well, I'll just add on to a little of what Nita was saying as well. Taking that traditional model, right, but innovating a little bit as well. Take a look at your merchandise and go over to maybe Teespring or Printful, right? These on-demand, sites where, again, no overhead, but maybe you take your lyrics of your favorite song and transpose it onto a duvet cover. Or, there's so many different types, right? There's so many different types of merchandise. And then also think about, in addition to what else, right, can I create, what else can I offer to my community, is aside from the music, also thinking about other things that are happening in their life, and how can you create some merchandise and some things that, maybe for a birthday or for an anniversary or for whatever else. Again, this is just, thinking about how can I create some other revenue streams while your fans do other things as well. And as long as they're in your community and they want to support you, give them some other ways, to do that as well. And I think that, in itself can be very, very powerful. I also would recommend, because I'm the book lady, so I'm going to share a whole bunch of books with y'all today. But this guy has been the keynote speaker for our Music Entrepreneur Conference a couple years in a row. He has done, the biggest brand deal, Scott Jennifer Lopez's, brands into Kohl's and all of that. So he's worked with artists on every range. But this book really breaks down the 7 steps of how to accelerate your brand. Just think of some, tweaks that you can really integrate into what you're already doing. So I highly, highly recommend that. And then, examples, again, of with myself, on the tech side and having my own business, not necessarily being an artist, right, is that there are funds available. It's just a matter of really getting out there and, finding more people in the industry and outside of the industry who really, want to be in music. So if anyone, has some questions about that, also, I'll, feel free to email me and we can dig into that a little bit deeper.
I think for me, it's more about don't restrict yourself, really. So find ways that you can just keep opening your mind to new ideas. And I think what's important on that side of it is, anyone in music is likely to have a bit of an entrepreneurial mindset anyway. And although live is absolutely in trouble right now, it's also absolutely huge and it's not going anywhere. It's coming back in whatever form it will be back. And I think any ideas that anyone comes up with right now, they don't need to be better than live. They don't need to compete. They can be other add-ons. We have seen the issues that streaming has caused. There's no problems with artists having numerous revenue streams, and they should have numerous revenue streams. So I think when people are trying to come up with ideas and opportunities, they shouldn't be comparing it to what can we do instead of live. That's not the point. Live is coming back. What can you do as an add-on that will still exist when live is back? And I think that's the way to look at it, because you're going to get yourself really up against a brick wall if you're trying to come up with an idea that's going to compete with the live sector that we know is huge and growing and fantastic and we all love it. You don't need to compete with it. You need to complement it. You need to come up with ideas that are going to be there that will sit alongside it. So don't put yourself into, hitting yourself against a brick wall just because you're trying to be better than it. You won't manage it. Complement it. I think that will change your mindset when you can start looking at it from that point of view. And it does mean that you'll start coming up with smaller ideas, more interesting ideas. No idea is a bad idea. Again, music industry is famous for that. We don't have a rule book. There's no set way of doing things. Our industry doesn't work like any other industry. No investor can make sense of us. Nobody knows how we all work. There's not a rule book that you can say, this is how you make it work. Try anything, you know, just be innovative, be entrepreneurial, and talk to anybody that's got, you know, is on a similar wavelength and see what comes of it. I do think Nita is absolutely right about picking up those contacts that you had from a year or two ago, because you've got time for those conversations now. And that's where these crazy ideas that no one's thought of are going to come from, is finding those contacts. You were at that conference together a year ago for a reason. What was it that connected you? Go and build on that right now. This is a great opportunity to do that, and then just see what comes of it.
Nice. And may I add one more thing?
Please do.
On the creativity side, because you know, I've definitely talked to a lot of my songwriter artist friends, and you know, they're writing at home, and it's great that we use that time off the road to write more songs. So important. But they also felt like they were disconnected from their band members or folks that they would collaborate with. And at Music Managers Forum, we just did a panel about 2-3 weeks ago, or a webinar, where we had a producer in Toronto with a songwriter in LA, and they were demonstrating how they use Ableton Live to collaborate remotely. And you know, I'm sort of trying to get some of my artists and songwriter friends, colleagues, clients, whatever, to make sure that they look into the variety of different, I mean, there's apps, a cappella, you know, there's, you know, serious software, and there's just even fun apps, whatever you want to use. There's things that are not intimidating, that are easy to use, but to go and grab those, you know, and, you know, even find a new collaborator from the conference where you met somebody, or the festival where you met somebody a year ago, and come up with some cool cross collaborations, cross borders, and, you know, come up with music so that when we do go back to live, you have a whole new thing, right? A whole new catalog of music to present to people. And in the meantime, monetize, get that stuff out there, and who knows what takes
I
off.
think there's a lot of opportunities for us all to work between different countries now as well, that we previously wouldn't have thought of. Like, you know, so, you know, we'd always be quite limited by the fact that, you know, from the UK, we might go to the US, and we might go to some of the bigger countries in Europe and not many other places. Whereas now it doesn't really matter, because if you're on a Zoom call, you can be anywhere. So I think we're speaking to far more people than we ever were in different countries and different places, you know, and I think that's really fascinating, because you start understanding the landscape in different territories that you're like, I had no idea there was an opportunity there, you know. So we're researching and learning for new opportunities, that when things do revert to whatever they do revert to, that we've already got these contacts and this research already done to know other places that we can go as well. So I think that's going to be really fascinating to see what territories you get bands touring in now, and where festivals might spring up from, and how other bands might break into the UK through some of us here that we're like, right, we're open, come and chat to us, you know, what can we do for you? And I think that's something that we're all going to benefit from in this time.
And I think that the collabs will not only be artistic, they'll be business-wise as well. I think that business connections can be made. We have a question from one of our viewers, which kind of completes, or maybe it hones on a more general question that I was going to ask. So I'm going to use both of them. My question was, starting from the idea that actually the reason why you avoided picking that business card up from last year's conference was, of course, lack of time, but also maybe a sort of shyness, or a sort of not knowing how to open a discussion. And I think that all three of you can be very helpful in providing ways to, you know, introduce oneself to a peer, but a peer who is more established, or a potential business partner who is a lot bigger than me. And the question came from Joe Bigalk, and the question was, how do you pitch to an international publisher? So I think you can go into that in the second part of your answer, because this is valuable stuff, and our viewers will be sure to use that from now on. So Nita, because this is the established order already. Thank you.
I talk to publishers every other day. Yeah, so I don't think that that's changed, but certainly as we talk about the business must go on, and then you have time to sit at the desk and do the pitches, it's still the same send that email, send a couple of links, don't send attachments, just try to link to your music somewhere. And I mean, it's those lessons. I'm sure there's archived webinars and such on how to pitch, but I mean, what tips we can give is don't pick every single song, pick the, you know, the top 3 to the top 5. What publishers are looking for is, of course, they're still looking for some example or evidence that the songs have resonated. So if you have actually recorded the songs and put them out there on the market, to actually put next to the song, like, you know, how many views on YouTube, say if it was a music video that was made of it, or how many streams on Spotify, what countries, what territories, that the song's been, where most of the audience has come from. You know, is it it's an important thing to publishers to see that. But then, you know, any of the success, it's like, put it right next to the link, put it right next to it. Like, this song had these cool things happen, like a sync placement happened with this cool little TV show, and, you know, whatever it is, it's like, just have 3 songs, 4 songs, and show the value, because they're looking to see, like, will there be sync licensing income that comes from it? You know, I mean, publishers are in the business of wanting to exploit copyrights that they think are promising, but they want to see that there's already been some activity if possible. So being able to show, like, did your Performance Rights Society, did your CMO, you know, give you a check already for a certain amount of money off of that composition? So if you have a catalog that's already been out there and proven, show the numbers to the extent that you can, or at least a ballpark, and say, I'm making, I don't know, $1,000 a year off of this title, whatever it may be. And showing them the money is really important to the pitch, I think.
Thank you, Nita.
With that, I don't think much has changed about how you pitch to a publisher. You know, the pandemic hasn't really affected that. It's still kind of the same way that you need to do it. So it is about just sort of proving that there is a value there. The one positive thing that I would say is that there's a lot more TV channels than there's ever been before, and that's on the rise. So there's a lot more music required. So you'll see some really savvy publishers getting in there and pitching to the musical directors to, you know, they're looking for good, interesting music. Having said that, that does mean that the fees for syncs are not as big for smaller bands. But yeah, that it definitely does give you a smaller income, some money there that you can pick up on. So yeah, don't be disheartened by that. Just go on and use the time that you've got now to pitch to as many people as you can, and carry on with the same rules. As to not picking up or not following through with a business card that you pick up, I think we're probably all guilty of that. And I think it's because when you're at a conference and you meet, like, you're there for 3 days, you get overwhelmed by the amount of people that you speak to, and you can't quite remember who it was that you had that conversation with at 3 o'clock in the morning when there was 5 people involved in it. And you're like, but that's why I was saying you were probably at that conference for a reason, that you were all together, that you all got on. So this is a great opportunity to take that time to go back and, you know, figure out who those people were and why you got on with them. And there's a guy that I met in Manchester just right before the lockdown that I thought was so fascinating and hadn't really followed through. And just in the last sort of 3 weeks, I've been seeing all the different things that he's doing. We've added each other on all the social media. And now I'm like, oh, wow, he's in the same place as me. I could do a lot with him, you know. And I'm really pleased that I've taken the time to actually read up in his biog, sort of read up in his CV, see everything that he's done and go, that's why we got on, right? You know, so yeah, take that opportunity. But yeah, I think we just get overwhelmed, and I think that's what goes wrong previously, but this is a good opportunity to fix that.
I'll take a little different approach on that question. And just an example of what I've done, you know, over the years. Years ago, I really wanted to learn more about sync and how to just go about this whole process, all of that. Again, started looking for individuals that are experts in the space, right? And I found a gentleman who some of you might know, Mark Frazier, who has the Sync Summit, right? So he has, I mean, that is his like niche focus. And so I wanted to build a relationship with him. The first year that he did his conference, I was over in California, but one of my team members was here close to New York. So we volunteered for him. And I said, hey, I'll bring some staff to volunteer for you and, to work, because I knew what I always think about is there's no better, more powerful currency than the currency of appreciation. And so, even to this day, still, we now with the Music Entrepreneur Conference and Sync Summit, we support one another. We continue to show up, to help, to provide, whatever we can. So, find those, again, depending on where you are, in your career, right? We're speaking to many different people, but I would say, find those individuals that you want to work with, that you want to learn with. If you want to learn about working with international publishers, find some of them. And again, reach out as you're looking for a mentor, you're looking for some information. Think about what you can also provide to these people and what can you offer them. Maybe they're dealing with some other pain points. They've lost staff. Again, just getting creative, but that's how I would take it. I would see, what can I do for these individuals? How can I begin to build a relationship with them? Because especially, when you don't have the status, right, in the industry to just immediately get that phone call, you have to get really creative with how you're going to do it.
Thank you, Rachel. We're nearing the end of our discussion, and I'd like to finish with pieces of advice. Maybe advice is not the proper word, just things that you think are important for artists and music business professionals to know and to rely on during these tough times. Some encouraging words that can turn a bad time into a survivable time. I'm sure that there are a lot of people that are listening to us and that will view this panel in time, because this is another opportunity that an online conference has versus a live one. You can watch it again, and you can recommend it to people who didn't watch it as it happened. So it will reach a lot of people in time. And I think people really need, from such experienced professionals as you are, just pieces of your mind that will help them overcome this particular time in their life when maybe everything seems so gloomy, so devoid of possibilities, of opportunities. And I think that one of the toughest things that we need to overcome is the lack of predictability. We do not know. Everybody's talking about next year, but if you really ask somebody this question, I think that nobody can vouch that next year will be back to normal, back to business as we knew it. So I think that this should be our parting thoughts. Just, pieces of your mind that make you function and work.
I think we always deal with unpredictability. I think that's where I'm kind of like, folks should understand what we're like in the creative industries, and this is kind of how we function. So in actual fact, we're one of the industries that's best set up to deal with this. It's not going to be easy for us at all, but I think that don't beat yourself up when you're having a bad day. There's a couple of different things I've had to do to try and just keep myself sane, so if I do have a bad day, I just make sure that the next day I start afresh. And so I will not let one day go into 2 bad days, go into 3 bad days. Sometimes it does happen, but don't think that any of you are alone in this if you're having a hard time, because it's irrelevant of what level you're at in your career or how much money you've got in the bank. We're all having bad days and things that we're worried about. So you're definitely not alone, and feel free to speak to people. And on the days that you're not having a bad day, go and do something positive that you can, go and speak to the people that you can brainstorm with. But I really think that we all have to acknowledge that none of us are handling this perfectly. There's no rule book saying this is how it's going to be okay. We don't know that, but we are a strong, resilient bunch, and we are creative. And thank goodness we've got music. There's no denying that I can just sit and listen to a playlist or put the music up full and go for a drive and just go, oh, phew, right, okay, I'm a bit refreshed now. I can deal with this. Back to my business plan. What am I doing now? So yeah, we're lucky to have that in our lives and to be able to appreciate it. So let's hold on to it and make use of it.
Okay. And I'll add in there, that's good. I'll add in there that keep working. I I think stay active, stay interested, stay open to adapting to new technologies and innovation. I talked about the legal and business housekeeping earlier. Metadata fixes, use that time to really get into your catalog if you have that, and even if it's a small catalog, make sure that you've put all your ducks in a row and registered with all of the different societies to collect what is coming to you and making sure they have the best data. Look at the international societies as well, because your streams are going elsewhere. You can go to Sound Exchange in the United States and go direct and register with them directly to collect your non-interactive streaming royalties from them. You don't need to go through your local society necessarily. So look into things like that. The live stream piece of it that I mentioned, just to summarize that, monetize your live streams. Look at companies like Veeps or Road Nation and others that are helping. Go to Twitch, where there's a new audience of people who are hungry for music, and set up your own artist page, your own artist profile where you're live streaming on Twitch, if you haven't done that already. Look at monetization financing models. Rachel had mentioned the Music Fund, who I absolutely love, but look at sound royalties. If you have copyrights and assets, your copyrights are assets. So look at sound royalties, look at the Music Fund, royalty exchange. Look at these types of platforms that allow you to potentially get some upfront investment, in exchange for, giving maybe a percentage of your future streams for the next couple of years. Those models really do work, and it gets your money now to invest in different things that you may need, or put food on the table, whatever it may be. So make sure to look at those financing models. And of course, we talked about networking opportunities. So just keep working. There is not a lack of things to do. Not at all.
And if you do use some of those resources, like she mentioned, the Music Fund or something, so that you have a budget, just make sure that you've got some professionals, some outside advice of what to do with that and how to maximize that as much as possible. And on a closing note, I guess, this talk was around mindset, right? And so what I think is less important is the things to do. I mean, all of this has been really great advice, so I won't take that away. But it's the mindset and the system, the how to get those things done, right? Despite feeling down, despite feeling disconnected, despite feeling depressed. And so for me, I've had to really rely on meditation, and I've been learning a lot as well. I will recommend this book for some of you out there, which is around transcendental meditation. And the biggest benefit, the top 2 benefits of transcendental meditation, because this book is all about the research, is number 1, your creativity, and then also your ability to kind of, reconnect the dots, remap things, and also deal with all that emotion that comes along the way. So having a personal development system is absolutely essential for any entrepreneur. It doesn't matter if you're in creative or whatever, there's always going to be crises. There's always going to be ups and downs. And the best thing that you can do, that we can all do for ourselves, is make sure that emotionally we're not always riding that wave along with the things that are thrown at us. I mean, especially in the music industry, we deal with a lot. This is another resource that I would highly recommend, the Rockstar Life Planner. And this is for artists, this is for professionals in the industry, and it's going to help you really plan out your day. That's one of the biggest things I learned as a leadership coach and in my personal development days before getting into music, was really about planning out our day, because we can know how to do all these things and wake up feeling a little funky. First jump into meditation, then look at the list of the things that you want to accomplish and really take charge of your emotions and of your day. And there's a lot of ways to do that. This planner also helps you check in with where you're at emotionally. So it's really a good balance between the personal things that we need to do to keep our mindset clear, so we can see opportunities. So we do want to reach out to people, because I know sometimes, like when I'm having a funky day, I don't want to have meetings. I'm just not feeling in my zone. So I've got to figure out ways to keep myself in my zone. So when I do make those relationships or have those conversations, I nail it, right? And don't leave feeling like, oh, okay, I really messed that one up. So these are some tools. Also, Rachel at World Artists United, if anyone wants to reach out and, discuss a little bit more of some of those types of things around personal development, mindset development, I've got a plethora of resources and I'm happy to share.
Rachel, thank you. We have time for one quick last question that we got from one of our viewers. Her name is Madalina Popa, and it's a bit off topic, but I think it's important that you answer it. What is one of the biggest challenges for women in the industry, managers, bookers, etc., and some ways to overcome that challenge? I'm sure that it's a question that couldn't have been asked in a better place than this.
Well, go ahead,
Who
Karen.
wants to go?
We're all ready for this one. Right, carry on, Lisa.
Ladies, we have to start because we have 5
Oh,
minutes
sorry.
left.
Fine. Well, I'll just say that I think 2 things that we really need to focus on is know your value, have boundaries, and figure out ways to have enough courage and bravery to speak up for yourself in the meetings that you need to, because it can be a little intimidating sometimes.
Not my there's 7,000 hours I could spend on this one, but
this is right up your alley.
Yeah, knowledge. I'll just give you a couple of thoughts real quick, and knowledge is power. So definitely make yourself the expert in the room. Find that one thing, a niche thing that can be yours, that you can own. And whether it's neighboring rights, for example, and you want to be the expert on neighboring rights in the copyright world, and be that expert so that people find that value in you, because they start to go, the knowledge will resonate. People will go, I know who to call on this. And that is how to build the value. It's about knowing your value, but building your value, building that ability to provide value to others. We all have this ability to give, and to really focus on what you have to offer the world is an important part of finding that empowerment. So I'll go with that for now.
I think for me, statistically, I'm quite often writing business plans and trying to raise investment. So statistically, female entrepreneurs are nowhere near as likely to raise investment, which took me a long time to get my head around. And much as it's very, very frustrating, I've actually found it's easier to acknowledge that. And now, if I go and pitch for investment, I've got it in my head that I have to pitch 20 times to get one yes. So every time I get a no, I just treat it as, okay, that's one less no, right? I'm closer to the yes now. It's not an easy thing to do, but I found that I had to find a positive in getting rejections, because it is continuous. And it's so frustrating when you've done so much work for a business plan and you see a guy that's done a business plan that's not got half as much detail, and he finds it far easier to get investment than you. So I had to find a way to deal with the negative responses on that, and that's been my approach, to think that the 19 no's are just a step forward to the one yes.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say with that, Karen, is that I've made it my mission and have started now to put an investment fund together so we can have control over the money ourselves. And I will just say one last thing is, don't be afraid to walk away from the deal. There are more opportunities. So if it doesn't feel right, you don't have to sacrifice.
Okay. And I want to add, that we're not alone in all of this. I loved joining Women in Music and being part of that. It's a global organization with a bazillion chapters around the world. To join and be part of the discussion, so that you do have a place to both learn and to give, and to feel that we're not alone, and that there's power in numbers, and that we can find workplace initiative programs inside of companies and work towards change, whether it's legislative change, business solutions, trying to help in the effort to remove gender bias throughout, right, wherever it is, and find those ways to open doors to equal opportunities in all the different verticals of our industry and outside of our industry. All of that can happen if we join together. So I love joining other women's organizations that focus on women's rights is so crucial and important to the whole thing.
And let's not forget that there is a Women in Music chapter in Romania. So Madalina, who is Romanian, she has already an organization that she can belong to and she can get help from. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me today. It was, for me at least, I don't know about the viewers because there's not a lot of feedback on the online things, but for me, it was wonderful. And I've learned a lot from you, and thank you for that. And I sure hope that in 2021, we'll meet each other on stage in a room full of people and talk about ways how to get everything back. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Bye.